Let's talk about the water holding capacity of thatch. Just for a minute. If you ask just about anyone who knows anything about lawns, you know that thatch is a bad thing if you've got too much of it, and it's not bad, it's actually a good thing if you've got a reasonable, normal amount. The reason for that is because thatch holds water. It's the good thing, but it's also the bad thing, or at least it's one of the bad things. Over here is my garden. In a garden setting, we grow plants and you put mulch down on the soil to retain moisture in the soil level. If you don't have mulch on the soil, then weeds are more likely to grow, but also your soil is going to dry out and you're going to have to water the plants more often. The same thing goes with thatch in the lawn. The thatch works like a mulch in the lawn. It mulches the soil down, so it's a little bit harder for weeds to pop, but mostly so that moisture stays in the soil and it doesn't evaporate away in the heat of the summer. The problem is when thatch layers get too thick, it takes a lot of water to saturate the thatch level so that the water penetrates and gets down to the soil in the first place. Just imagine if you had a gigantic sponge sitting on your ground and you sprinkled it with a little bit of water from above. It would fill up the sponge, but everything underneath it would still be dry. That's a weird analogy. Let's pretend that sponge is on the kitchen counter. That makes more sense. If you have a sponge sitting on the kitchen counter and you put a little tiny bit of water on it, the sponge soaks up the water and the counter stays dry underneath it. That's the problem with having too much thatch in the lawn. Now, when you have a normal amount of thatch in the lawn, regular amounts of irrigation and rain saturate the thatch level and get down to the soil and keep your grass plant systems hydrated. When it gets too deep, then we need to really start looking into scoring the lawn with a scarifier or electric dethatcher, or running a full core aerator over the top of the whole thing. I do a little bit of both. Parts of my lawn have thick thatch, so I take additional steps as well. Up here in this video, I've got a lot of information about all of the steps that I take to manage my thatch levels. I suggest you take a look at that. And remember, we don't want to get rid of all of it. We need to have some thatch, otherwise our soil dries out way too fast.